By the way, this movie in no way intends to portray Pope Francis as the Pope. And yes, the producer of this movie has an agenda. And so there's no infallible statement. There's no papal statement here. And no pope can change the teachings of the church. It cannot change what God has set down. And God made us in his own image. And he made us male and female. And he made us complementary to one another so that human life would be procreated on this earth through marriage between one man and one woman. And we have, if you look, in the Navarre Bible commentary on the Genesis 19, we have this explanation here. In the Holy Scriptures, sins of homosexuality are portrayed as being very depraved. By the way, the word sodomy comes, sins of homosexuality are called sodomy because it refers to the destruction of Sodom in Genesis 19, okay? So these are depraved. They're against the natural law. By the way, all sins against the 6th and 9th commandment are depraved, not necessarily as grave. Homosexuality is completely unnatural. Adultery and fornication, at least it's a man being attracted to a woman being attracted to a man. So it's within the natural law that they should be attracted. The question is, are they free to be attracted to that person? The law of Moses punished them with death, and not just sins of sodomy were punished with death. Remember, all the sins, we read that already, the sins against the 6th and 9th commandment, the adultery and fornication were punishable by death. And in the New Testament, they are seen as the height of depravity when men do not want to live according to the law of God. You can look at Romans 1, 26 and 27. When men have rejected the law of God, then God abandons them to their unnatural lusts. Go ahead and read that. It's also in 1 Corinthians 6, 9 and 1 Timothy 10. Okay. And so tradition has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically evil. By their nature, they are evil. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine, effective, and sexual complementarity. Under no circumstances can they be approved. So we have a commentary here by Father Jerry Murray, part of the Raymond Arroyo Papal Posse.
Yes, and they're on every Thursday night on EWTN. I want to plug them for that.
Yeah.
But Father Murray goes back many years with our family. When we had a young family, he would come and vacation in California and visit us. So we had a lot of good conversations. His father was an attorney. He at one time was studying to be an attorney. He's a canon lawyer. So he's got his act together, and I'd like to ask Mr. Engineer to play this clip from the Raymond Arroyo show.
Francis calls for the passage of civil union laws for same-sex couples. Here's what he actually says in the documentary. We'll roll it for you. Homosexual people have the right to be in a family. They are children of God and have a right to a family. Nobody should be thrown out or be made miserable over it. What we have to have is a civil union law. That way, they are legally covered. The media and activists have been saying the they have a right to a family line there is a shift in church teaching. Is it, Father Jerry?
No, because that was a manipulation of the Pope's words. He was not endorsing the formation of a family by adoption or surrogate motherhood in that regard. So that is not a change in church teaching. What is the change in church teaching is what he said about homosexual unions being recognized by civil law. Back in 2003, Pope John Paul II said the following: Catholics are obliged to oppose legal recognition of homosexual unions. Catholics are obliged, and the reason is it's an endorsement of deviant behavior, and it is giving societal recognition to something which is a fake marriage. It has nothing to do with marriage. And it gives the approval to behavior which is mortally sinful. This is a real crisis in the church, Raymond.
Well, Father referenced that 2003 document, and in it it says, respect for homosexual persons cannot lead to any way to approval of homosexual behavior or a legal recognition of homosexual unions. Father James Martin, who has really been out front framing the Pope's comments, had this to say. Watch.
He's saying it on the record, and he's being very clear. It's not simply he's tolerating it, he's supporting it.
Well, I think Father Martin, unfortunately, is accurate in his observation. The Pope has stated quite clearly that he thinks homosexual men or homosexual women have a right to some kind of legal recognition of their relationship in a way that's equivalent in some way to marriage without calling it marriage. And what the Pope has done here is something that no Pope has ever done, which is accept the gay lifestyle. The Pope seems to be at ease with homosexuals living together and committing sin. Because let's face it, the basis of homosexuals' civil unions is that they're going to be sexually active with each other, and they make promises to that effect. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, to say the least, that the Pope did this. I think it's really scandalous, and it's not a happy day when a Catholic priest has to say that the Pope has done something that he thinks is scandalous. But really, Holy Father is saying something that goes directly against Catholic moral teaching. Not only are we not supposed to commit mortal sin, we're not supposed to encourage other people to do it or speak in a way that would give them the impression that we tolerate it or think it's good.
Well said, Father Murray.
Well said. And that's, again, as Father Murray said, that they should be part of a family. Yeah, they are part of a family. They came from their family of origin.
Of course.
They're part of the family of the church. But do we recognize the homosexual union? No, we can't, because it's gravely disordered. And the deal is, the Pope has no authority to change God's revelation. The church has no authority to change God's revelation. And this isn't the first time in history this question has come up. And, popes have made mistakes before where they had to be corrected. The first one was Peter. And it was over his actions. It wasn't over a teaching. It was over his actions. But Cardinal Mueller has an excellent article about this. It was on LifeSite News.
Yes, and it's titled, Cardinal Mueller, Pope's Endorsement of Homosexual Civil Unions Has No Authority for Catholics. So basically, he's the former prefect of the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith, and he explains that there are limits to papal authority, noting that some popes have erred.
Right, and that's it. And it's real simple. It's I know, Jesse, and you mentioned on your show,
Sure.
The sensus fidelium.
Right.
And the sensus fidelium doesn't mean the majority report.
No.
The sensus fidelium refers to those people who are living faithful to the gospel, who are striving to live in union with God day by day. And people are shocked by this statement that that we could recognize civil unions of homosexuals. We can't. It's not. It breaks down marriage and family. It's an attack on the family. The family is a man and a woman committed to each other for life, who made their vows before God in the church, before witnesses. It's not just, marriage isn't just between you and your spouse or, whatever. It's whatever I want. No, you don't just go out under a tree and say, I marry you and you marry me and that's it. No, you need witnesses, because it affects all of society.
That's right.
And the church, because it's an institution that God himself established. Marriage is between one man and one woman. And little children, and Pope Francis even wrote this himself when he was in Argentina when they were discussing homosexual marriage. Little children have a right, this were his words, a right to be raised by a father and a mother. Okay? So it's child abuse.
That's it.
To put a child in a home where you have two people of the same sex living together as if they were married. Because you're giving them a false impression of what marriage is, first of all, and you're abusing them as a child because they don't have a father and a mother. And, Pope Francis has supposedly encouraged this homosexual couple in Italy who have 3 children that they should raise their children in their parish. And the difficulty is where's the mother of these children?
That's right.
These men couldn't have a child. So where's the mother? Where is the mother of
They
these
hired
children?
somebody to be like a customer and say, I want you to take care of my baby inside of you so we can have this baby, but I take full possession of it. So
But
I'm paying
well,
you for
not
it.
only that, they have to get the ovum from the woman.
That's right.
Men's sperm does not create a child.
That's right.
You have to have sperm and ovum. And so where is the mother? And so she just becomes an object to be used.
That's right.
So what you see what's happening here?
We're rewarding that.
People become objects to be used.
Yep.
No, homosexuals don't have a right to adopt children or have children. As a matter of fact, homosexual couples, if they're living a homosexual lifestyle and refuse to live a chaste life and aren't trying to live by God's laws, they have excluded the possibility of children in their marriage. Now, I granted, science can intervene and circumvent, unfortunately, the law of God. That doesn't make it right. Just because men can do it doesn't make it right.
Well said.
And this is one of the problems, and this is one of the difficulties. Pope Francis himself acknowledged the rights of the children to be raised by a father and mother. And now he's saying, well, and I understand. We have a difficulty. People find the homosexual lifestyle so abhorrent that, unfortunately, you've had certain people killed because they were found out to be homosexual.
Yeah, that's wrong.
That's not right. That's not of God either. A person who has this disordered attraction in themselves most likely were abused, neglected, or molested at some point. And so they needed to be treated with compassion, but they also need, hopefully, to recognize that, you could find healing and you could actually reverse this attraction.
That's right.
And many of them have.
Yep.
But some of them have been so wounded by the trauma that they can't reverse the attraction. So they suffer. And I understand that. You know what? We're all sinners. We're all in this together. Every one of us has a major fault we have to overcome. And many of us find it really hard to give up some sin in our life. We all have to strive manfully. Even women have to strive what we call manfully.
That's right.
That means with a great strength, with vigor and virile strength.
Yeah.
Against sin in our lives. That's what we need to strive against, sin.
Bible with the Barbers, that's what we're working on. We're trying to be saints under construction.